Previously on Ballz.
Sure. Mark Keohane joins us on Ballz again. Nice to chat to you again, Keo. How are you going?
Good. How are you, buddy?
All good, thank you. All good. Winding down to the end of the year, but lots of stuff still to talk about. And end of year tour. I was just saying yesterday we chatted to Heineke and we chatted to Peter de Villiers, and that tour for me is kind of. Do you get excited about the end of year tour?
Never. I never get excited about those tours. Kind of like when England were at their peak, it was always nice to go to Twickenham and play them there.
Yeah.
But Wales have been a young team for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lions of old.
Time where they've got to actually win something.
Yeah.
We talk about how crap the Wallabies were, but the Wallabies beat them 3-0 down under, and they were the strongest over there. And you know how they are. If they box one win against either Australia, New Zealand, or South Africa, one of those teams, then they'll be back on top of the world. But it's the end of a bloody long season. I mean, the Super Rugby competition is just outrageous.
Yeah.
I saw a knee specialist yesterday, and he just said that the damage that they've seen on players is worse than they've ever seen before. And it's just that they just playing these guys into the ground at provincial level, at regional level, and then they still take them on a tour. I mean, I honestly thought that Heineke could have rested a lot more for this tour and actually brought 10 or 11 players that are based overseas in for those 3 tests, had a look at them. What's he going to gain from beating Ireland or beating England, And what does concern me was, when I chatted to him the other day, he said it's the last chance to look at some players. I mean, we're in 2012, for God's sake, So, I mean, it's, I don't get particularly excited, I must say, about those tours, but if we do pump England by 20, then I'll get excited.
Absolutely. I remember, I mean, in next days and that, when, where there were unbeaten records to be looked after, and in those days there wasn't that much rugby, it was still Super 12, and we sort of geared up towards that England game and the England test, and everyone was really excited. But as you say, there's just so much at the moment going on that you kind of, after Curry Cup, want to go, geez, can everyone just take a break? And the amazing thing, I mean, from a player's point of view, although they'll never say it or be allowed to say it, when we spoke to the injured guys over the last couple of months, like Pierre and Bismarck, every single one of them, I mean, when would you have heard 10 years ago players actually sort of been thankful that they might be injured? Because these guys, this is the only chance they get to actually just get a bit of a rest and refocus their brains and just relax.
But that's also, Darren, that's one of the lures of going to Europe and playing, is your furthest travel is going to be a 2-hour flight from London to Toulouse or something like that.
Yeah.
But you're not getting on a plane, flying to Australia, New Zealand, coming back, playing for your province, playing for your region. It's just exhausting these guys. So your lifespan that used to be 10 years, you're looking at more 4 or 5 years now for these players. So a guy who starts at 19 is playing test level. You'd probably be finished by the age of 25 and not be able to walk by the age of 30. And it really is, again, symptomatic of an amateur administration running a professional game. And I know you're very well versed in like the American sport. I mean, they are that's the blueprint. There's a proper preseason, there's a proper recovery conditioning phase, and then they go for 17 straight weeks. I was chatting to Tanky about it yesterday. We gave up everything to give Australia the ultimate rugby union competition. They had nothing. Now they've got this 22-week Super Rugby competition. They've got 5 franchises. They've got a bigger bite of the pie, and we just got stuff. So I'm very anti the expanded Super Rugby competition. I'm anti kind of the home and away in the Rugby Championship, and then a 3-test series. It's just overkill. I think we saw that with the crowd attendance as well. Curry Cup final, semi-final, that you can't sell them out. With the Springboks coming back, people just don't have the finances to pay.
Yeah, don't have the finances in this current climate, but also too much of one thing. It's as you say, when you look forward to a Province Northern Transvaal final in the old days, or a little later on even a Sharks Bulls final, or a Test series against a team, but you know that you're going to see these guys again in a couple of months, and then again, and then again, and then again. The novelty wears off, and I think the IPL is a perfect example of that, where this year they resorted to actually opening half the stands. Now, you saw how big the crowds were when that thing started, and now there's just too much T20 cricket. Same story. You can see the fact that it's just too much by way of the attendance figures, where people are just not going to the games anymore because it's too much.
But I mean, if you take sticking to the rugger, Province played the Sharks 8 times, I think, this year in the guise of the Stormers Province. They played them in that semi-final, came back and played them 4 days later in a Curry Cup, that Friday at Newlands. It's just outrageous. And there were like 6,000 people at that game at Newlands for the Sharks against Western Province. And if that doesn't tell the sponsors or the organisers something, then, God knows what's all. And now there's another rugby competition, a club competition they've started up. So it's just take. And they believe that the conveyor belt will just continue to go. But it's just not I just can't believe players haven't challenged it.
Yeah. Do you put any of that down to, and we were talking just before we went on air about how stunning the Sharks' performance was in that final, and we do know that Plum, when he brought Willem and some of the box into the squad, he did actually bench them for a while because they were almost out on their feet. They had a bit of a break, came on second half, I think, in the semi-final, and then as everyone says, you don't go into a final and not start with those guys. But some of them tend to seem to disappear in that second half. Do you think that was a symptom of it? One of the symptoms of what was a very, very crazy result when most people thought that Province didn't have a chance?
Without a doubt, and you look at the Currie Cup final last year, and the Lions supporters said that all the Springboks were back for the Sharks. Those guys had just come off a World Cup campaign. They lost in the quarterfinal. Mentally, they were drained. And to play at test level, it's only when the guys get there, and even when coaches get there, that they see what the demands are. It's a national involvement. It's an international involvement. Mentally, they were fatigued, after playing the All Blacks, playing Australia, then having to come back and get yourself up for 2 weeks for the Currie Cup when they haven't been involved at all. It's outrageous. They shouldn't even have been allowed to play in that competition. The Currie Cup is a feeder competition to Super Rugby. Alistair Coetzee kind of wrote it off 3 weeks before they won it. Now it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. They even had a ticker tape parade in Cape Town. I thought it was bad enough when the Cape Times, the lead page, won that they won the Vodacom Cup. But, no, it was outrageous. I mean, it's the kind of thing when you win the award, it means something. When you don't, it means nothing. But it is just a feeder tournament. Steve Hansen said he refused to pick players out of the ITM Cup because the standard is so different to Super Rugby that the guys have to come through Super Rugby or, through the Rugby Championship to get on the end-of-year tour. So we can get excited about a guy in the Currie Cup and he goes on tour and he doesn't quite hack it, and then we want to kick him out as well. So it's everyone looks like superstars in Currie Cup rugby. It's a very different game, Super Rugby, and then obviously test level.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I definitely think with Sharks, those guys were just finished, and now they've got to get up again, and get up for Dublin and Scotland. I mean, that's when you get those crappy results. Scotland beat us on a shitty day, and it's. I looked at one of the New Zealand reports, and when they didn't get the record of unbeaten runs, of straight wins, their writer said, "What's the point of going on tour?"
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's and that's why this interview tour for me, I'm gonna watch, and but more out of interest of some of the new guys that have come in. People like Franco van der Merwe, Raymond Ruler, guys like that. I want to see Lionel Mapue back. He should have been there a while ago.
Where are they going to play? There's 5 winners in that squad, 5 black ones as well. Where are they going to play?
Are you including Hokie there? Are you including Hokie
there as well?
Okay,
he's blue. He's blue, not black. Okay? but it's. They picked like Mapo, and they picked Raymond. How do you say it? Roulé or Roulé?
Roulé, yeah.
Roulé. Yeah, we're poaching from Ghana now. So, that's terrible. We left Zimbabwe alone. Now it's just Ghana.
I hope all his documents are in order as well. I don't want to find out 2 years later that now he's not legal.
He comes back. They signed him for a club in England because he wasn't actually allowed to play for South Africa. But these guys will go on tour now for 3 weeks. They probably won't get a game because there's no midweek games. And where they could have been in conditioning programs for next year. And then we start on the back foot again in Super Rugby. New Zealand have announced their 5 Super Rugby squads. We still up until a month ago, we didn't even know who was playing in the competition.
Yeah.
So they've got these 32 that are going on tour. They've got their Maori All Blacks that are going on tour, and they will be the substitute for injuries over there. And they've got 4, 5, and those guys are in training from the 10th of December, and they've now got a break. Our guys come back from a tour, and then they go into training straight away because they're very loyal to their region.
Yeah.
It's the biggest lot of crap,
Yeah, absolutely. There's guys we've spoken to, they can literally get a week or 2 weeks off, and then they're back in the in pre-season again. But when we spoke to Heineke, he made the point I watch it to go and have a look at some of these guys and see what we can add from this tour to the guys that are coming back next year, and the injured players and some of the more senior players that aren't there. That's when you start looking at it going, okay, well now we've got a nice core of a team that we can move forward within sort of the championship type stuff. So effectively, and he said that's exactly how he wants to see people see this tour and see what he's got to work with. But then, if he says that, then you would expect that all of them will get game time somewhere. But again, once again, it's the case of, well, then do you give everyone test caps purely because you're basically having a trial up there? So it's a.
Do you know the South African mindset, Darren? They go, they struggle in the first game, they just box the win, or they lose to Ireland, which is very possible.
Everyone's on his back.
They haven't played, Robert, and it's like Hanneke's job's on the line again. It's a disaster, it's chaos, and then it's like back to the wall. I couldn't understand the mentality in the rugby championship. We have to win at home. We have to beat the All Blacks now. It's do or die. Why is it do or die? We were a young side. There were 521 players in that side. They were missing 2 players in terms of injuries. We were missing 6 or 7 frontline players. And then people got all hyped about that Dunedin result. I go back to when I was at Big Ears. We took 50th Victoria. We went to Dunedin and lost 19-11, and Louis couldn't miss 5 penalties. People said we had turned the corner. We hadn't. It was just a crappy night in Dunedin. They don't always play that well at home. They play better at Loftus and at Soccer City. They don't like Ellis Park, but they love Loftus and Soccer City. And again, people were like, now we've arrived. It was a one-off passionate performance. But our guys just weren't there, mentally and physically. And then you've got the provinces saying that they want the players back. And Heineke makes the point yesterday at the press conference that we have to have a national contracting system that those players, with 150 players in the country, are contracted by SARU, and then they are given to the region. So the guy will primarily play in his region, but they have to hold over the player. At the moment, the region takes the player back, or the province takes the player back and says, we're paying his salary, he's going to play. John de Villiers, they stuck him in a game because they thought they may lose to, a weakened Free State side at home and possibly play in a relegation game. And now he's going on tour with a hamstring injury, captaining the side. Why? Put another youngster on that tour and give him a chance.
But that's the thing, and I always think back to Clive Woodward when England went on that tour down under. I think John Wilkinson was part of that side. There were a couple of other players as well. But basically, you remember there was all that drama with with Martin Johnson and and they left a whole lot of the old boys behind. The experienced
behind,
They basically left their 18 behind. They went over there. There was a lot of bitching and moaning once again from the Aussies that they're going with the second string side. I think they took 60 or 70 in the one game. Yeah. But out of that tour, Woodward found probably 5 or 6 players from that squad, which when he came back, brought the old boys back in, put these 5 or 6 guys together, and he said, right, here's my World Cup squad in a few years' time. And they went on to win the World Cup. That's probably how we should be looking at the Springboks and what Heineke's got now and what he's doing now.
The key to our season is the Rugby Championship every year, and then the World Cup. Those are our big tournaments to win. What we do with a 3-test series that comes here is irrelevant because their players arrive here knackered as well. Yeah. And what we do at the end of the tour is largely irrelevant. Yeah. And that should be where our priority is. And that's where, for me, you pick your Southern Hemisphere players exclusively for that Rugby Championship, but you really maximize what you've got in Europe to play. Those guys are playing week in, week out against those players. You use them there, and by the end of the 4 years, you've worked with 40-odd players. You know exactly where the guy is. But this mentality still of, that the players who go overseas, it's held against them. If Bucky's hadn't left, even Espet wouldn't be playing this rugby now. Bucky's would be playing this rugby. Yeah. So the conveyor belt is good then. A youngster comes in and gets the chance, but why do we have to alienate those other guys? And then I always hear this thing about the standard is not really up to it. So why do we struggle against them? You speak to the players who go there, to Smitty and Bucky, they say it's as tough as anything they play. And this mentality we put our 5 Curry Cup sides in there and we smash them. It's just a lot of nonsense. We really need to reevaluate the governance of the game, and kind of as a media and as supporters, we also need to grow up a bit and realize this isn't the amateur era. They don't play 10 games a year anymore. They don't play cricket and rugby. It's a demanding professional sport, and it's probably one of the most demanding. And when I was chatting to the knee specialist as well, he was saying that the law at the ruck at the moment, where the guy has to stay on his feet, is the cause of so many knee injuries because the guys get played, they get taken out, and it's illegal, and they get taken out at the knees. Yeah. And that they've put in a thing that they want the laws revised because of player safety.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to leave it there. It's always great to chat to you, Keohane, and I'm sure we'll catch up again sometime. Was our chat a lot more entertaining than your chat with Tank yesterday on his show?
Tank said the big white elephant. I thought they were no longer called the Dumbos. We started off with which stadiums I was running, what I've been accused of, who I'm managing, and all that. Did he
go do the carte blanche interview on you?
Straight to the jugular.
Carte blanche interview, and then he asked me, what value do I place on awards, and I said, nothing. So he said, okay. And then he kind of like said, okay, so you're not at the Kings. I said, no, mate, I haven't been to PE for a while. So, okay. I said, but Luke Watson is my mate, so I'm not going to apologize for that.
All right. Tank's
It was good fun.
Tank will be a little later on for blogs just after 5 o'clock. The worst Curry Cup 15 of all time. Any submissions you'd like to put in there off the top of your head?
Well, I must tell you a quick story, Darren, before you go. When I was doing Monty's book, I was in Papillon, and they invited Harry Britt at a braai, and Don Himon came. And he was very offish to me, and he walked over and he said, can you remember that you picked an all-time worst Springbok 15?
Yeah.
So I said, I think I can remember. He said, can you remember the 15? So I said, no. He said, I was at number 1. I said, no, not you.
So
he did tell me that he was a child of God and he would forgive me. So that was
all right, so at least it all worked out okay in the end.
Keo, just very quickly, I wanted to ask you about Skulk Brits.
Yeah, I think a brilliant selection. And I think, Bismarck to start and Carl Brits off the bench, what a fantastic combination. There wouldn't be a better combination in the Ballz rugger. And he's improved him tremendously with his scrumming and his line-out. And you're not player of the year 2-3 years in a row if you can't scrum and you can't do those things. And, speaking to John Smith, he said the guy's just playing phenomenal rugby. So I'm glad that they actually gave him the chance. But I think he got the chance because Craig Burden went walkabout in that final.
Yeah.
Because he was going to go as the third one. And he's not quite there yet. I mean, he's a converted winner. But Skulk Brits, a very good selection. I would still have brought Bucket in and kind of just giving him those few weeks to work with Etzebeth. So it's not a choice of one or the other. Get an old hand in there. Joe Verniekerk, I know he's injured at the moment, but he's been playing well. Get that kind of guy in there. I just don't think Arne van der Merwe is test quality yet.
Yeah, I wasn't available,
He's going to go on tour, and I just bring back James Dalton, for God's sake.
The bullet. Give him one chance. He'll probably come back as well. All right. Yeah. Cool stuff. Keo, thanks a lot for your time this afternoon, bud. All the best. Look after yourself.
Thanks, cheers.
2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays to Fridays live on Ballz.co.za. Ballz.co.za.